These promises strong as a spell. I'll never tell. Yeah, I like you.
Hi guys, welcome back to exmolex. Today I'm doing something a little bit different and kind of funny. I'm going to take online quizzes to find out whether or not I was in a cult. If you've been here before, you probably know that I was a member of the Mormon Church for 25 years. Then I came across something online called the CES letter, which made me question my faith for the very first time. From there, I ended up doing a whole bunch of research, which led me to believe that the Mormon Church was not true, and today I think of it as a destructive cult. Now, I've done plenty of research about cults. I've read books and watched documentaries about cults. I've learned from other people who were members of different cults and people who are considered experts about cults. And I would say that I've learned enough to know that there's kind of different levels of cultiness. I've also done this series where I talk about whether or not Mormonism is a cult using the BITE model of authoritarian control. I'll leave a link to that in the description if you want to watch it. But for today, I'm going to let internet quizzes decide if I was in a cult or not. It's kind of funny to me that I've never thought about doing this before. I'm actually in the middle of a book right now where one of the characters joins a cult, and she talks about trying to find a quiz online, like, am I in a cult or not? And I was like, why did I never think of that? Hey guys, before we get started on the cult quizzes, I just wanted to take a minute to tell you about the awesome giveaway I'm doing with Balesa. Balesa and I are sending out free vibrators or gift cards for vibrators to everybody who signs up for my giveaway. I'm going to show you guys a couple of the new products I got, starting with the Air Vibe. It comes in this super cute, super discreet charging case. This one has both a suction and a vibration mode. As you can see, it's nice and flexible and made of waterproof silicone. I love the products that come with these charging cases. They're honestly just so convenient and really cute. I think something like this would be a really great Christmas present for that special somebody or for yourself. Next up is the Thump. And if you're looking for a toy that does it all, this is the one. Again, this comes in a really cute, discreet little charging case. This one has 3 different settings for vibration, suction, and thump. The whole body of it vibrates. It has suction on this side and thump on the other. If you're not familiar with a tap or a thump setting, let me show you what it does. The Thump is probably my favorite just because it has so many different settings. I mean, it literally does everything, and it's still small and discreet with the cute little case. I honestly love Balesa's products. I own several of them myself, and I love how sex positive they are. As somebody who grew up in a destructive cult, having to unlearn all the shame around sex was honestly really difficult, and I'm happy that there's a company out there that is helping people do that. And we'll actually talk a little bit more about that later in this video when we take the cult quizzes. So don't forget to sign up for my giveaway. The link will be in the description as well as right here on the screen. And like I said, these would make awesome Christmas gifts. Huge thank you to Balesa, and let's get on to the cult quizzes. If I had read the CES letter when I was maybe 13 or 14, when internet quizzes were really big and I was really into it, probably at that point in my life, I would have Googled, am I in a cult quiz, and taken the quiz, but I've never done it before until now. So I found a few different websites, I've got them all ready to go, and I'm gonna take you guys with me as I find out if I'm in a cult according to internet quizzes. And no, I have not looked through them at all yet. I just found websites that had quizzes about, am I in a cult or was I in a cult? So I don't even know yet how accurate these are, but we're gonna find out together. All right, here is the first one. Are you in a religious cult? Take the test. Cults begin or evolve with a charismatic leader who claims supreme knowledge. These leaders are able to influence their followers to believe their perspectives and obey their dictates. Is your leader the ultimate authority of your group? So right off the bat, yes, absolutely. In the Mormon Church, they started off with one charismatic leader, Joseph Smith. He's the one that started the Mormon Church, although Mormons will say that he just restored the church to the earth. It's Christ's true church that was here before a period of apostasy, and Joseph Smith just restored the church, but he was the founder of Mormonism. Joseph Smith was the first prophet of the Mormon Church, and now, is your leader the ultimate authority of the group? The leader of the church now is Russell M. Nelson. Yes, he is the ultimate authority of the group, so we'll say yes. Most cult leaders give themselves impressive made-up names or titles which elevate their status to their followers. They may call themselves the man of God, pastor, prophet, messiah, messenger, enlightened teacher, guru, apostle, etc. Does your leader have impressive made-up names or titles? Well, yeah, he's the prophet. Cult leaders convince members to forfeit their critical thinking ability in return for a sense of belonging, authority, and purpose. To members, it doesn't matter what the evidence or logic may suggest, the leader is always right and their misdeeds are always justified. Criticism of the leader is forbidden. Is your leader always right and therefore you are not allowed to criticize him or her even if the criticism is true? Who wrote this quiz? Were they a Mormon? Because there's literally an apostle that says it is wrong to criticize the prophet, even if the criticism is true, and it's worded just like that.
It's wrong to criticize leaders of the church, even if the criticism is true.
So that's very interesting to me. Yes, the leader is always right. Although Mormons would argue like the prophet is fallible, but there's times where he's speaking as a man versus speaking as a prophet. And when he's speaking as a prophet, whatever he says is true, but it's not always speaking as a prophet. I've done so many videos about this. Yes, they believe that what the prophet says as a prophet is always true. Cults generally only allow their members to study their organization through approved sources. They view critical thinking as an infectious disease and every effort is made to suppress it. Doubting members are encouraged to isolate themselves from outside influences and focus solely on the doctrine of the cult. People who contradict the group are viewed as persecutors and are often given labels like anti, apostate, or rival. Members are discouraged from consuming any material that is critical of the group. Are members of your group discouraged from reading anything that is critical of the group? Yes. And those terms, anti-Mormon and apostate, currently apply to me. Because religious cults consider themselves the ultimate authority on truth, the members can't imagine anybody leaving the group with their integrity intact. Thus, they may have to perpetuate a false narrative that former members were deceived, backslidden, demonic, bitter, evil, or fallen away, etc. As far as your group is concerned, would they say that there is no legitimate reason to leave them? Yes. Oh my God. I'm just thinking like, if only as a teen or young person I had found something like this, I would have been like, huh? I think it would have made me really question for the first time because like so far, the Mormon church is hitting all these points. Does your group insist that the end of the world is near? Cults position themselves as the sole refuge from an evil outside world that is intent on their destruction. Cults thrive on conspiracy theories, catastrophic thinking, and persecution complexes. In an effort to draw in more paying members, cults are often very aggressive in their recruitment efforts, which are usually justified as saving people from the evil world. Those who reject the cult's message are condemned, unelected, damned, evil, goats, the great unwashed, etc. Is your group suspicious about the outside world? Yes. In Mormonism, they believe that the second coming of Christ is imminent, and they have believed that the second coming of Christ is imminent since 200 years ago when the church was first founded. They also have a habit of saying that every single generation is the chosen generation that's going to usher in the new millennium. They also often say things like be in the world but not of the world. Basically like we as Mormons are a peculiar people that are, you know, better, for lack of a better word, that we have the truth, that we have this, you know, this gospel that's the truth, and the people on the outside, they don't have that, and we don't want to be of the world. We want to be a peculiar people. We want to save ourselves from the outside world because that's where the bad people are, basically. The natural man is an enemy to God, so if you haven't accepted the gospel, you are part of that. Like, there's all kinds of things, but yes, the Mormon church definitely hits this point too. Cults all believe they are right. They are the right group with the right doctrines, the right leader, the right interpretation of their holy book, and their leader is right in dictating what laws and rules they are to obey. Does your group believe that they are the right religion / church / group / ones, or only ones who have the right teaching / doctrine? Yes. It's like everything they're saying, like point for point. Cults exercise control over their followers. The leader determines the rules / laws and expects to be obeyed, or else there are consequences. Rules / laws can include what you can't wear, where you can't live, who you can't eat with, who you can't marry, what job you can't do, who you can't keep company with, what education you can't receive, what your stance is to those who have left the group, and many more. Are there any of the above such rules / laws in your group? Yes. I would say that what you can't wear is one of them. Mormonism has a lot of modesty rules, and once you've been through an endowment ceremony, you are supposed to wear garments 24/7. Where you can't live, not so much. Who you can't eat with, not so much. Who you can't marry, I would say yes, although there's not like a hard and fast rule about marrying another Mormon. It's very much encouraged, because if you don't marry a Mormon, you can't get married in the temple, and if you don't get married in the temple, you can't make it to the highest level of heaven. So who you're married to is very important. What job you can't do, I would say sort of on that one, because within Mormonism, you're not supposed to work on Sundays. Like, you're supposed to keep the Sabbath day holy. So they do discourage you from taking a job that would make you work on Sundays. Who you can't keep company with, I would say kind of yes, because they very much encourage you to be friends with other Mormons and to stay away from bad influences. So they want you to be friends with people who have similar values to you or are members of the church also. What education you can't receive, not really. And what your stance is to those who have left the group, yes. So I would say all in all, yes. Emotional separation. Cults are not happy when members leave, primarily because they think there is never a legitimate reason to leave. Therefore, those who leave are treated negatively. Remaining members, even family members, distance themselves emotionally, often shunning and ostracizing ex-members. They now see them as unclean, evil, deceived, apostate, an opposer, etc. If you were to leave your religious group, would remaining members, even family members, separate themselves from you, whereby there would be any emotional detachment? If you know my story, you know that my husband's family disowned us a couple years after we left the church, and many of our family members pulled away after we left the church. It's just all the things they said, it's so true. And oftentimes, even if they outwardly put on a facade of, you know, still having a good relationship with you, they talk about you behind your back with other members of the church. It's hard. Physical separation. Cults separate families. This is how it works. A member of a family leaves. The cult now separates the remaining family members with laws or rules. These dictate they can no longer have a normal family life with that member who has left. For example, they are no longer allowed to freely eat and drink with them. They are no longer allowed to stay or live with them. They are no longer allowed to go on holiday with them. They are no longer allowed to celebrate the birth of their children or go to their wedding. They are no longer allowed to fully join in any funeral arrangements. They are no longer allowed to celebrate birthdays or special occasions with them. They are no longer allowed to go shopping with them. They are no longer allowed to contact them. If you were to leave your religious group, would your remaining members separate themselves from you and cease to have a normal family life, as in any of the above examples? This one, I would probably say no, based on the examples that they gave. And it kind of varies, like, from Mormon family to Mormon family, depending on how orthodox you are. I know some members of the church who have been this way or who would be this way, but I also know plenty who are not like this. There's definitely a separation. There's definitely stuff that's different. And I think that is more within Mormonism. It's the emotional detachment, not as much the physical detachment. For me, myself, I would say no, because I haven't experienced this with my own family. My husband has to a degree. There were like other factors involved as well. All in all, I would say no. So now let's see what the results are. From what you have answered, 9 out of 10 cultic characteristics appear to be in your group. You can now choose to find out more, or you can choose to do nothing and go back to the main menu. I'm not surprised. That one, it makes me wonder what cult this person was in. Actually, it says I can see more. Maybe I'll find out. It seemed very Mormon-y to me. Born into the exclusive Brethren sect. I have not heard of that one. But the way that he phrased, "Is your leader always right and therefore you are not allowed to criticize him even if the criticism is true?" That is so spot on for Mormonism, it's not even funny. Okay, let's do another one. Were you in a cult? Group dynamics can be so confusing when groups become coercive and controlling. So we created a free and quick quiz to see if your group has the features of a cult. If you grew up in a culty group or joined one as an adult, knowledge is the first step in taking back your relational health. Take the quiz. Let's just put exmo. Ugh, I want my email address. Fine. If you wanted to leave, was there a clear way out of the group? No, I knew there would be negative consequences to me leaving, or I didn't feel like leaving was an option. Or, yes, I knew I could come and go as I pleased and there was no punishment for leaving the group altogether. Gotta say A on that one. I knew there would be negative consequences to me leaving. There were definitely negative social consequences. I didn't feel like leaving was an option, not really. I had to hide the fact that I left because I was afraid of what my family would do and say. And when it says in B that I could come and go as I pleased and there was no punishment for leaving altogether, technically you can come and go from Mormonism, but there would be consequences. There's definitely social consequences as far as the people around you would have all sorts of feelings towards you. If you left and came back, there would be like privileges that you had to re-earn, I guess, as far as like the priesthood. If you're a man, you probably wouldn't be allowed to use your priesthood until you had you know, attended for a certain amount of time again, or you wouldn't be allowed to take the sacrament if you had like sinned. You probably wouldn't be allowed to go to the temple right away. You would have to pay your tithing again. There are all sorts of things you would have to do to reach the level that you were before. And even then, people would talk about you and judge you for the fact that you had left in the first place. So like technically you could physically leave. Nobody's going to physically stop you, but there are negative consequences, and I definitely felt like I couldn't leave. So A, I was taught that everyone outside of the group was dangerous or could easily corrupt those that were inside of the group. Yes. I often find myself using the words of group leaders to beat myself up for my thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, or feeling at peace with my full human experience, including my thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Definitely A. I often felt like I was not worthy. When it comes to getting out of a bad relationship, marriage, or dynamic, I believe I would have full support of the community to make the decision that was right for me, or I believed that my relationship served a higher purpose for the group / belief system, and I did not feel free to leave that relationship easily. I feel like this is probably different and individual for each Mormon. Like within Mormonism, divorce is okay, and people definitely do get divorced. I think I would have felt bad about it because of the religion. I think that some people at least, would judge me. So I don't know about the full support of the community, but I'm gonna give Mormonism the benefit of the doubt on this one, especially in recent years, and say that I would have the support of the community. When it comes to sexuality, I feel like I learned some really unhealthy things about human sexuality that I continue to live with as an adult. Or I feel I received a balanced and thoughtful education around the biology of sex, and I felt free to proceed in whatever way was right for me personally. Definitely A. Oh my goodness. When it comes to how I view others that are different from me, I learned an us versus them mentality and felt scared to participate in events outside of my group because I know the group will respond negatively. Or I feel genuinely interested in others and feel free to interact with others with drastically different views than me. Definitely A. There was very much an us versus them, insider versus outsider mentality in Mormonism. And that starts from the time you're really young, when they're encouraging you to only make friends with Mormons and other people who have the same values as you, and discouraging you from ever going to anywhere like a bar or anything where there's sin happening. When I disagree with the group, leadership, or decision, I worry that bringing my concerns will result in punishment, abandonment, or judgment from the group, or I feel ready and willing to challenge leadership or doctrine that is harmful to others. Definitely A. I learned to doubt my own intuition or feelings because the group told me I was wrong and could only trust leadership's feelings. Yes, for me that's true. When it comes to actively making my own decisions, I feel like I am an active agent for change in the world, or I feel helpless and in need of reassurance from the group that I'm making the right decision. Oh my gosh. Every decision I made in my life as a Mormon, I felt like I had to pray over. Everything. There was no like trusting myself. It was all putting it into God's hands every time. So definitely needing a reassurance. When it comes to education or growing as a person, the group felt that outside influence was dangerous and therefore limited my exposure or opportunities, or I felt supported in chasing my passions. It's kind of both, as far as feeling like there's outside influences that are dangerous, but from an educational perspective, I didn't really feel like the church held me back, so I'm gonna say B. I was actively taught how to respond when others expressed concern about the group's rules, restrictions, or leadership. Yes. My group taught me that I had to sacrifice something big in order to be part of the group and on the right path. Oh, exactly those words. Sex, education, relationships, passions, fun, joy, etc. Yep, definitely. I was sexually, physically, or emotionally abused inside my group. Yes. There was a charismatic and self-centered leader in charge of the group. I'm not sure God is a huge fan of mine, even though I work really hard to please God, or I feel loved and cared for in most aspects of my life by God. I feel like the answers and the question don't match up awesome on this, but there is a charismatic, self-centered leader in charge of the group. I'm not sure which one I'm supposed to pick on this for that. I think A. The group demanded time, resources, and money. Yes, so much of all of those things. Felt forced to do things you were uncomfortable with. I would say yes, because I was very uncomfortable with the temple ceremony, and they give you the option to leave when you've already started, and I wasn't feeling it, but I didn't feel like I could back out because my family had all come there to be with me when I went through the endowment ceremony. So yes. When I think about my time in the group, I feel overwhelmed, guilt, and shame. I would say like I don't anymore, but that's because I've healed a lot. But like after I left immediately, like yes. I was told that people did hurtful things to me because they loved me or because a God/leader told them to. Actually, yeah. There was this time when I was probably like 12 or 13 where I had a Sunday school teacher who basically told me that my older brother, who had left the church, wouldn't be in the highest level of heaven with me. And that really hurt my feelings. And I told our bishop about it, and he just kind of was like, oh no, like that's like true. And like just had like nothing to say against my teacher. And I felt so sad about it. So yes.
Hi, this is Editing Lex. I didn't do a very good job in this moment of explaining how my answer related to the question, so I just wanted to clarify. The bishop made me feel like my teacher was just giving me tough love when he told me that my brother wouldn't be in heaven with me. Like I shouldn't feel bad or upset about it because it was true. So for this question in particular, it made me feel like they did do a hurtful thing to me because they loved me and they were just telling me that's how it is. I hope that makes sense.
When I've opened up to group leaders in the past, I felt that they used that information against me, or that information was held in confidence and never used to shame me. For me personally, I think I would say B, but I know that that's not the case for everybody. When it comes to group leadership, I feel a deep disconnect between the message and how the group members actually behaved with one another, or I feel like they embodied the very messages they were teaching. Definitely A. If you know my story, you know that my bishop is currently in prison for abusing boys in my ward. When it comes to sexuality, the subject was usually harped on, but usually with shame and indignation for sexuality outside of the limits of what the group defined as okay. Or consent, power dynamics, and sexual safety were taught consistently. Oh my gosh, so much A, it's not even funny. When it comes to feeling safe, I tend to feel unsafe and judged in my community most of the time, or I tend to feel safe with authority figures and community members in my community. If I was to answer now, I would definitely say B. I wouldn't feel safe at all. And that's because I have more information now and, you know, knowing what my bishop did. I mean, I guess I found out about the bishop when I was still a member, and it definitely made me leery of my current leadership. Oh, it's hard to say. There were times where I felt unsafe, and there were times I felt judged, and there were other times where I felt very safe and like I fit in. I'm gonna go ahead and say A, just because with everything that happened with the bishop, it made me feel a lot differently. That's it. Hit continue and you will be directed to your results. Can't wait. High score. It looks like your group did indeed have some culty dynamics. Watch this short video to learn 3 big religious and cult trauma symptoms. So all in all, it seems like we're definitely leaning towards cult. Some of the questions much more than others. Again, if you want to learn more about if the Mormon Church is a cult using the BITE model of authoritarian control, I'm going through each of these things point by point. I will leave a link to that playlist in the description. I wouldn't say that anybody should put like a ton of stock in online quizzes like these for something really serious, like actually finding out if you're in a cult or not, but it is very interesting. And like I said, especially when I was going through that first one that was created by somebody who escaped a cult, all of those were hitting so on point for me. And if I had read something like that when I was younger, before I realized what kind of group I was in, I would think that would have been really eye-opening for me. So even if it's not like 100% accurate, I do think it's really, really interesting. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments, and please do leave a like or a comment. Those things are super, super helpful in the YouTube algorithm. And shout out to my patrons for supporting the channel. You guys are the best. Extra special thank you to Amy and Doug Davis for supporting at the Demon tier on my Patreon. If you would like to support the channel, there are links to do so in the description below. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!
These promises strong as a spell, I'll never tell. Yeah, I like you, that's for sure.